The crystal wine glass hit the marble floor first, exploding into 1,000 glittering pieces. Then Kong's body followed, all 195 pounds of Seoul's most dangerous man crumpling like someone had cut his strings right there between Louis Vuitton and Hermes. People screamed and scattered in every direction. His girlfriend Mina shrieked loud enough to shatter more glass, but her designer heels stayed frozen exactly where they were, 4 feet from his convulsing body, her perfectly manicured hands fluttering uselessly near her face like broken wings. That's when Amanda moved. This black woman with her discount store shopping bags didn't think, didn't hesitate, didn't calculate the risk. She just dropped everything and sprinted straight into the panic while everyone else ran away. Her hands were moving before she reached him, before his security detail could intercept, before common sense could remind her that touching Korea's most feared crime lord without permission was basically signing your own death warrant. His lips were already blue. She had maybe a minute, maybe less. Move now, Amanda's voice cut through the chaos like a surgeon's blade, sharp and absolute. The head bodyguard's hand dropped to his holster instinctively. But something in her eyes, something certain and unafraid, made him pause mid-reach. She was already tilting Kong's head, checking his airway, her fingers pressing against his carotid with the precision of someone who'd done this 100 times in worse situations. He's got an obstruction. Someone call emergency services immediately. She positioned her hands on his sternum, but instead of standard CPR, she pressed 3 fingers under his ribcage in a specific sequence, a rhythm that made the closest bodyguard's eyes go wide with recognition. "Where the hell did you learn that technique?" he whispered in Korean, his voice tight with suspicion. Amanda ignored him completely. She was counting under her breath, pressing, waiting, watching. Kong's chest spasmed once, twice, 3 times. Then his breathing changed, becoming ragged and desperate but present, alive. Mina finally remembered how to move, her Louboutins clicking against the floor as she rushed closer. "Get your hands off him. Who do you think you are?" Amanda didn't even glance up from Kong's face. "Someone who knows what she's doing, which is apparently more than you." The security team tensed. In their world, that kind of disrespect ended in blood on expensive tile. But this woman had just pulled their boss back from the edge of death while his devoted girlfriend had stood there posing like she was waiting for someone to take her picture. Kong's eyes fluttered open, unfocused and terrified. His hand shot out blindly, searching, and when it found Amanda's wrist, his fingers locked around it with desperate strength. "Don't leave," he managed to gasp in broken English, his voice raw with fear. "Please don't go." Sirens wailed somewhere in the distance, getting closer. Mina's beautiful face twisted into something ugly beneath her expertly applied makeup, just for a second before she remembered people were watching. And Amanda felt the weight of 100 eyes on her, all asking the same silent question that bodyguard had voiced. How does some random black woman know a medical technique that only exists in classified military training protocols and elite protection programs? The same technique that Kong's disappeared sister used to practice in secret until the family erased her from existence. But here's where everything you think is happening gets flipped completely upside down, because Amanda isn't random and she definitely wasn't supposed to be in Seoul today. She was supposed to be 3,000 miles away, hiding from the exact family whose dying heir was currently gripping her hand like she was the only solid thing in his collapsing world. Welcome back, friends. This is Prince of Afro-Korean Stories, where passion, danger, and impossible romance intersect. Please keep sharing your ideas for future episodes. And kindly like, share, and subscribe, and activate notifications so you never miss our latest content. Then drop a comment telling me your location, Seoul, Chicago, somewhere between. I want to know who's bold enough to hear what really happened. Now let's get into what happened after those ambulances arrived. The paramedics burst through the crowd in a controlled chaos of equipment and rapid-fire Korean that Amanda only partially understood. But she understood enough, understood the way they looked at her hands still pressed against Kong's chest, understood the suspicion in their eyes that screamed foreign woman, black woman, what did you do to him? I stabilized his breathing, Amanda said in careful Korean, her accent noticeable but her medical terminology perfect. He experienced what appears to be a vasovagal episode complicated by an underlying cardiac condition. His airway was compromised, so I used the Erickson technique to restore normal respiration. The lead paramedic froze with his equipment halfway out of his bag. The Erickson technique? That's not standard emergency protocol. Where exactly did you learn that? Does it really matter right now? Amanda cut him off. Or should you be checking his vitals to confirm what I already told you? They checked. And every single thing she'd said was medically accurate, which only made them stare at her with even more questions forming behind their professional masks. Mina pushed forward dramatically, tears streaming down her face now, her voice climbing into hysterical registers. My fiancé, my poor darling, I was so frightened, I didn't know what to do. She reached for Kong's hand, the one still wrapped tightly around Amanda's wrist. Kong's fingers squeezed harder on Amanda, refusing to let go. His eyes, clearer now but still haunted, found hers and held them. Stay with me, he whispered, just those 3 words, but they carried the weight of a command even in his weakened state. The bodyguards heard it. They exchanged loaded glances. Then the one with the scar cutting through his eyebrow gave Amanda a barely perceptible nod that meant permission, meant protection, meant you're under our watch now. Mina's tears cut off like someone flipped a switch. For just a fraction of a second, her face went completely blank, cold and calculating. Then the mask snapped back and she was sobbing again, but Amanda had seen it, that flash of pure fury behind the performance. Sir, we need to transport him immediately, the paramedic said, already preparing the gurney. Is this woman family? She's Kong started, then coughed violently. His body jerking. Amanda's hand moved to steady his shoulder automatically, and the coughing subsided almost immediately. He looked at her with something like wonder mixed with desperation. She's necessary. Not family, not friend, necessary. That word hung in the air between them like a promise and a threat wrapped together. They loaded Kong onto the stretcher with practiced efficiency. Mina climbed into the ambulance without asking permission, positioning herself at his side like she owned the space. But Kong's eyes never stopped tracking Amanda as the bodyguards gently but firmly guided her toward a black SUV waiting at the curb. You're coming with us, Scar said in English that was better than Amanda's Korean. Boss wants you close. I should go home, Amanda protested even as her feet carried her toward the vehicle. I have classes to teach tomorrow. I can't get involved in this. Scar opened the door, his scarred face unreadable. You saved his life using a technique that's been classified by 3 different governments. You spoke to him in a way that should have gotten you killed on the spot, and he's holding onto you like you're the last piece of solid ground in an earthquake. He gestured to the leather interior. You're already involved. The only question is whether you're smart enough to see it through or stupid enough to run. Amanda climbed in. The seats smelled like expensive cologne and gun oil and decisions that couldn't be undone. 2 more guards sat across from her, watching her with the blank intensity of men trained to notice everything and reveal nothing. The SUV pulled out behind the ambulance, and Seoul's traffic parted for their convoy like the Red Sea for Moses. That technique, Scar said from the front seat without turning around. The Erickson maneuver, only 11 people in South Korea know it. 3 are dead. 4 work for military intelligence. 2 are in government protection services. He finally looked at her in the rearview mirror. The last two learned it from someone who trained in America and brought it back as insurance, as a way to save someone who mattered. Amanda said nothing, but her hands clenched tighter in her lap, betraying her. Kong's sister, Scar continued, his voice softer now, almost gentle. She knew that technique. Used to practice on training dummies in the basement of the compound. Said it might save a life someday. His eyes held hers in the mirror. Turns out she was right. I never met his sister, Amanda said carefully, testing the waters. Didn't say you did, Scar replied. But you learned it from somebody, and there aren't many somebodies who could teach it. The hospital materialized ahead of them, a gleaming tower of glass and steel that screamed wealth and privilege. They bypassed the emergency entrance completely, driving into a private underground garage where doctors were already assembled and waiting. This is where it gets absolutely crazy, because when they wheeled Kong through those doors and the head physician looked at his chart, looked at the paramedics' notes, his face went carefully neutral in the way doctors do when they're hiding something catastrophic. Who stabilized him? The doctor asked quietly. Scar pointed at Amanda. The doctor's eyes narrowed as he studied her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed to her, not deep but definite, the kind of bow that acknowledged something unspoken and significant. Thank you, he said in perfect English. You may have given him time he doesn't have to spare. What's that supposed to mean? Mina's voice sliced through the moment like a knife. She'd appeared from somewhere, her face blotchy and swollen now, playing the devastated girlfriend to absolute perfection. What do you mean time he doesn't have? Tell me right now if he's dying. The doctor's expression shifted into professional neutrality. Let's discuss this in my office, family only. I'm his fiancée, Mina said immediately, her voice trembling on cue. And I'm head of security, Scar added. I hold medical power of attorney if he's incapacitated. His eyes cut to Amanda. She comes too. I'm not family, Amanda started to protest, but Scar's hand on her elbow was gentle and utterly immovable. Boss's orders. He said necessary, remember. They filed into a private consultation room that looked more like a luxury hotel suite than anything medical. The doctor closed the door with finality, pulled out a thick file, and dropped it onto the desk with a thud that sounded like a death sentence. Your fiancé, he said to Mina, has been terminal for 6 months. The world tilted sideways. Mina's hand flew to her mouth in perfect shock. But Amanda was watching her eyes, watching how they didn't widen with surprise, watching how her pupils didn't dilate with the news, watching the micro-expression that flickered across her face before the grief mask slammed down. She already knew. Terminal, Mina's voice broke beautifully. But he's been fine, he's been working, we've been planning our wedding. He has a rare degenerative cardiac condition, the doctor continued, his tone clinical. Genetic, untreatable in its advanced stages. We've been managing it with medication, keeping him stable and comfortable, but today's episode suggests we're entering the final phase. He paused, letting the weight settle. Realistically, he has weeks, perhaps a month if we're fortunate. Scar's face had gone gray. The other guards stood frozen, processing that the man they'd sworn to protect was dying no matter what they did. But Mina's face was doing something else entirely, something that made Amanda's stomach turn with recognition. She was calculating inheritance. Weeks, Mina repeated softly, then louder with building hysteria perfectly performed. Weeks, and we were supposed to get married next month, we're supposed to have a future together. She turned to Scar, her eyes wild and wet with manufactured tears. We have to move the wedding up, we have to do it immediately. I need to be his wife before, her voice broke convincingly. I need to be with him legally so I can make medical decisions, so I can be there for everything. He has family for those decisions, Scar said carefully, his tone cautious. His family abandoned him years ago. Mina's voice rose with indignation. I'm the one who's been here for him, I'm the one who actually loves him. We need to marry this week, tomorrow if possible. Amanda watched this performance and felt ice crystallizing in her veins, because she'd seen this exact script before, different country, different hospital, different dying man, but the same desperate grab for legal ties, the same calculated grief that smelled more like money than love. The wedding can wait, Amanda heard herself saying. He needs treatment and rest, not stress. Mina's head snapped toward her like a predator spotting prey. I'm sorry, but who exactly are you? His nurse, his doctor, or just some random woman who happened to be at a mall? Someone who saved his life, Scar said quietly, and there was warning in his voice now. And I'm grateful, Mina said, her tone going sweet and poisonous simultaneously. Truly grateful, but this is family business now. You can leave, we'll make sure you're compensated generously for your help. She was trying to buy Amanda off, trying to erase her like a problem solved with cash. Amanda should have left, should have walked straight out those doors and back to her tiny apartment in Itaewon and her anonymous life teaching English to disinterested teenagers. Should have stayed hidden like she'd been doing for 3 long years. But Kong's voice echoed in her memory. Stay with me, please. And underneath that, another voice, one she tried so hard to forget. A woman's voice, Korean and kind and absolutely fierce, saying the words that had changed everything. If something ever happens to my brother, promise me you'll be there. Promise me you'll watch over him. She'd made that promise to Kong's sister. And then the sister had vanished, erased by her family for the crime of wanting to choose her own path, her own life, her own future. Amanda had thought she'd failed completely, thought running to America, dropping out of nursing school, hiding from everything and everyone meant she'd broken her word. But here he was, dying, and his girlfriend was already measuring him for a coffin while calculating her windfall. I'd like to see him, Amanda said clearly. Before I go. Absolutely not, Mina started, but Scar was already moving toward the door. The boss asked for her specifically, he said simply. That ends the discussion. Mina's face did something ugly for just a second. Then she smiled, cold and sharp as broken glass. Of course, how thoughtless of me. You must want to make sure your heroic deed is properly appreciated. She linked her arm through Amanda's with false warmth, her perfectly manicured nails digging in hard enough to leave marks. Let's go see him together, shall we? They walked through sterile corridors that smelled like antiseptic and impending death, past rooms full of people fighting for life and losing, past nurses who bowed to Scar without making eye contact, past the ordinary world into the private wing where Korea's elite came to die behind expensive curtains. Kong's room waited at the end of the hall. You still with me? Comment below if you're feeling what I'm feeling right now because this story is about to go somewhere none of us expected. 2 guards stood outside, straightening to attention when they saw Scar approach. He's awake, one reported. Asking for the woman from the mall. Mina's nails dug deeper into Amanda's arm, drawing blood. The door opened and there he was, pale against white sheets that probably cost more than Amanda's monthly rent, oxygen tube running to his nose, monitors beeping their steady rhythm that could flatline at any moment. His eyes were closed, his face drawn tight with pain, his body looking smaller somehow, less dangerous, more human, more breakable. Then his eyes opened, found Amanda standing in the doorway, and something in them shifted, softened, cracked wide open. You came, he whispered. I came, Amanda confirmed, and felt Mina's nails draw more blood. But wait, because this is where the night took a turn that nobody saw coming, not even close. A nurse entered behind them, young and nervous, carrying a tray of medications with shaking hands. She approached Kong's bedside, preparing to inject something into his foreline. Amanda's nursing training kicked in before conscious thought could catch up. She was across the room in 3 steps, her hand catching the nurse's wrist before the plunger could descend even an inch. "What is that?" Amanda demanded. The nurse's eyes went wide with shock. "His medication, the doctor prescribed it." "What medication exactly?" Amanda's voice was steel now. "I don't have to explain myself to you," the nurse said, trying to pull away. "Let go of me right now." Amanda looked at the syringe, at the clear liquid inside, at the label that said one thing while every instinct she had screamed something completely different. She'd seen this drug before in another hospital, another lifetime, seen what it did to patients with cardiac conditions just like Kong's, seen how it accelerated death while looking like natural disease progression. "Don't give him that," Amanda said quietly, her voice absolute. "Please. It'll kill him faster." The room went silent like someone had sucked all the air out. Scar moved closer, his hand dropping near his weapon instinctively. Mina's face cycled rapidly through shock to outrage to something cold and calculating. "How dare you?" Mina breathed. "How dare you come in here and accuse his medical team of..." "I'm not accusing anyone of anything," Amanda said, still holding the nurse's wrist. "I'm saying that medication in combination with his specific condition will accelerate cardiac deterioration exponentially. It's contraindicated for his particular genetic markers." "You can't possibly know his genetic markers," the nurse said, but her voice wavered uncertainly. "Can't I?" Amanda met her eyes directly. "Can't I know that he carries the K-17 mutation, that he's allergic to beta blockers, that his sister had the exact same condition and died in a hospital just like this one after receiving medication exactly like that?" The air left the room completely. Kong's hand shot out from the bed, grabbing Amanda's arm with surprising strength for someone so weak. "My sister," he rasped. "How do you know anything about my sister?" But Amanda couldn't answer because Mina was screaming now, calling for security, demanding Amanda be arrested for assault and interference and God knows what else. The nurse had dropped the syringe, backing away with her hands up in surrender. Scar was on his phone, speaking rapid-fire Korean to someone who was probably a lawyer or possibly an assassin. And the monitors were beeping faster, Kong's heart rate spiking dangerously with stress. "Everyone out," Amanda said with sudden authority that surprised even her. "Right now, before you kill him with all this chaos." "You don't give orders here," Mina snarled viciously. "I do," Kong's voice cut through everything like a blade. Weak but absolutely final. "Everyone out except her." His eyes locked on Amanda with desperate intensity. "I need to understand how you know what only my family knows, what only my sister knew." Mina looked like she wanted to commit murder with her bare hands. But she smiled instead, touched Kong's face with gentle fingers that looked more possessive than loving, and whispered, "Of course, my love, whatever you need. I'll be right outside. Just call if you need anything at all." She shot Amanda a look that promised retribution and pain, then swept out with the nurse trailing behind like a kicked dog. Scar lingered at the door uncertainly. "You want me to stay, boss?" "No," Kong's eyes never left Amanda's face. "But check that medication, all of it. And find out exactly who prescribed it and why." Scar nodded and left, closing the door with a soft click that sounded like a cell door locking. They were alone. Kong studied Amanda with the intensity of a man who'd spent his entire life reading people to survive. "You knew my sister," he said. Not a question, a statement. "Yes," Amanda confirmed. "She's supposed to be dead." "I know she is. But you don't think so?" Amanda's breath caught in her throat. I don't know what she is, I just know she made me promise something and I'm trying my hardest to keep it. Kong's hand was still on her arm, and now his fingers traced a pattern there, a specific rhythm that made Amanda's eyes widen with recognition. It was the same pattern his sister used to tap when she was thinking, the same unconscious gesture Amanda had seen 1,000 times in their cramped dorm room in Boston when they'd stayed up until dawn studying anatomy and dreaming about saving lives and changing the world. She taught you everything, Kong whispered. Almost everything, Amanda corrected. Why didn't you tell me at the mall? Why the pretense? Because I wasn't supposed to be here at all. Because I promised her I'd stay far away from your world. Because Amanda's voice cracked. Because she told me if I ever came back, if I ever contacted your family, they'd kill me just for knowing what I know about her. What do you know? Kong asked. Amanda looked at this dying man, this dangerous man, this man whose sister had been her best friend, her savior, her reason for becoming strong. And she made a choice. I know she didn't run away because she was scared, Amanda said quietly. I know she ran because she was pregnant, and I know your family would rather kill her than let her ruin their carefully laid plans with an air they couldn't control. The monitor's beeping stuttered and jumped. Kong's face went white, then gray, then something beyond pale. His hand fell away from Amanda's arm like dead weight. Pregnant, he repeated, his voice hollow. She was 10 weeks when she left school. She made me swear on everything I loved that I'd never tell your family, said it would get both of us killed without question. Amanda sat on the edge of his bed, professional distance completely forgotten. But she loved you desperately, talked about you constantly, called you her baby brother even though you were only 2 years younger. She said you were the only good thing about that entire family. Where is she? Kong's voice broke completely. Where's my sister now? I don't know for certain, Amanda admitted. She sent me one message 3 years ago. Said she was safe, said I should forget her completely, said to Amanda swallowed hard. Said if you ever got sick, if you ever needed someone, should break my promise and come back to Seoul. She knew, Kong breathed. She knew I'd get this sick. She had the same condition, was managing it with medication when I knew her. Amanda's voice was gentle. She was doing okay back then, but she knew it was genetic, knew you'd eventually need someone who understood what was happening. I came back 6 months ago, got a job teaching English at a language academy, kept my distance from everything, but I watched from afar. Made sure you were still breathing, still fighting. And when you collapsed today, you couldn't stay away anymore. No, Amanda confirmed. Kong closed his eyes, processing everything with his brilliant criminal mind working through layers of deception and truth and grief. When he opened them again, there was something new there, something like hope mixed with rage mixed with desperate determination. Mina doesn't know, he said. About my sister, about you, about any of this. No, she has no idea. Good, his hand found Amanda's again, and this time his grip was stronger, more purposeful. Keep it that way. Let her think you're nobody, just some random woman who got lucky. His eyes bored into hers with intensity. But don't leave me now. I need you here. Kong, I can't possibly, I'm dying, he said flatly. And apparently someone is actively trying to speed the process along. And my girlfriend is more interested in wedding dates and inheritance than actually keeping me alive. And the only person in this entire city who seems to genuinely care whether I survive the night is a woman who learned medicine from my vanished sister. His jaw clenched with determination. So yes, you can. You will. Because she asked you to, and now I'm asking you to. It wasn't a request from a boyfriend. It was a command from a man accustomed to absolute obedience, but it was also a plea from a brother who just learned his sister might still be alive somewhere. Amanda should have said no. Should have run for the airport. Should have gotten on the first plane to literally anywhere else. Instead she said, "Your sister taught me one more thing beyond medicine. She taught me that sometimes you save people not because it's safe or smart, but because it's right." Kong's smile was small and sad and infinitely grateful. She always was better than the rest of us, more human. Ambitious, Amanda said, but she always told me ambition without compassion is just cruelty with a business plan. She'd know, Kong said. She watched our father her whole life and learned exactly what not to become. A knock at the door interrupted them. Scar entered without waiting for permission, his face grim as death. "The medication," he reported. "It was prescribed by Dr. Chun, your family's personal physician. But here's the interesting part, boss. He's been off duty for 3 days. Someone forged his signature on the prescription order." "Who benefits from me dying quickly?" Kong asked, though they all knew the answer already. "Your fiancée inherits everything if she's legally married to you before you die," Scar said. "Without other family to contest it, without a will that says otherwise, she gets the entire empire." His eyes cut to Amanda. "But only if she becomes your wife first." "Cancel the wedding immediately," Kong said. "Already done, boss," Scar said quietly. "She filed an emergency petition this evening while we were here. Some judge on her father's payroll signed off on it. You're getting married in 3 days whether you want to or not, and there's nothing we can do to stop it legally." "Like hell I am," Kong started. "You're not strong enough to fight it through legal channels, boss, and she knows it." Scar pulled out his phone, showed them a screen. "She's already leaked it to the press. Dying Mafia heir to wed devoted girlfriend in tragic ceremony. It's everywhere, all the major outlets. Backing out now makes you look cruel, like you're abandoning her in your final days." Kong's hand slammed against the bed rail hard enough to make the monitors shriek alarms. "That manipulative, calculating easy," Amanda said, her nurse training kicking in hard. "Your heart can't handle this level of stress. We need to think clearly and strategically, not react emotionally." 3 days, Kong said. "I have exactly 3 days to figure out how to not die, not get married, and not get murdered by my own medication." He looked at Amanda with something like respect. "You really did learn from the best, didn't you? Because this is exactly the kind of impossible situation my sister loved to solve like a puzzle. She usually had more time and resources to work with," Amanda pointed out. "Then we'll have to be faster and smarter," Kong said. He pressed the call button. When a different nurse appeared, he said clearly, "I want a private overnight nurse. Someone not from this hospital's regular staff, someone I can trust absolutely." He looked at Scar. "Make it happen immediately." "Boss," Scar started. "She's not certified to work here officially." "I don't care about paperwork," Kong said. "She knows more than anyone else in this building, and more importantly, she's not trying to kill me for money. That's all the qualification I need." His eyes met Amanda's. "If you're going to keep your promise to my sister, then keep it fully. Don't let me die in 3 days so that woman can collect her prize." Amanda felt the weight of the choice settling on her shoulders like concrete, felt the danger of it, the impossibility of it, the sheer insanity of agreeing to spend 72 hours keeping a mafia boss alive while his girlfriend planned a wedding that was really a funeral with a bow on top. But she also felt her best friend's voice in her memory, clear as day. "Take care of my brother. Promise me you'll protect him." "Okay," Amanda said finally. "But we do this my way. No more mystery medications without my approval. No visitors I don't clear first. And if your heart stops for real, I'm calling actual doctors, not handling it alone like some kind of superhero. Deal. Kong's smile was sharp despite his obvious weakness. Welcome to my world, Amanda. Try not to get killed in the next 3 days. Same to you, she said, and despite everything, despite the danger and the death and the deception, they both almost laughed. If this hooked you already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment because what happens next will absolutely shatter your expectations. The door burst open suddenly. Mina swept in with a garment bag over her arm and a smile on her face that didn't reach her cold eyes. Good news, my darling, she sang out artificially. I've arranged absolutely everything. The wedding will be here in the hospital chapel, intimate and beautiful and perfect for your condition. Her eyes slid to Amanda with barely concealed venom. I'm sure your nurse will understand she's not invited to family events. Actually, Kong said slowly, I've decided I need round-the-clock medical supervision for the next 72 hours. Amanda will be staying in this room the entire time. What? Mina's mask cracked. Doctor's orders, Amanda said sweetly. Can't risk another episode, can we, especially not before your special day. The look Mina gave Amanda could have melted steel into puddles, but she painted on her perfect smile, kissed Kong's forehead with lips like ice, and whispered just loud enough for Amanda to hear, Don't worry, darling. Very soon everything will be exactly as it should be. When she left, the room temperature seemed to rise 10 degrees. She's absolutely going to kill you, Amanda said flatly. Probably, Kong agreed. Good thing I have someone who knows how to stop her. I'm not a bodyguard, I'm barely even a nurse at this point. You're something my sister trusted with her life and her secrets, Kong said. That makes you more valuable than all the bodyguards and nurses in Seoul combined. He settled back against his pillows, exhaustion finally catching up. Besides, you're already in this now. Might as well see it through to the end. Amanda looked at this dying criminal who looked nothing like his dangerous reputation in this moment, just a scared young man who'd learned his sister might still be breathing and his girlfriend might be planning murder. And she realized Kong's sister had known exactly what she was doing when she'd sent Amanda back to Seoul after all these years. Because sometimes the most dangerous people need the most protection, and sometimes a promise made in a dorm room is worth more than safety. The night stretched ahead, full of beeping monitors and whispered conversations and the growing certainty that 72 hours might not be nearly enough time to solve a murder that hadn't happened yet. But as Amanda settled into the chair beside Kong's bed, watching his breathing even out into something resembling sleep, she felt something she hadn't felt in 3 long years. Purpose. Even if it killed her. And judging by the way Mina had looked at her, it probably would. The night crawled by in careful vigilance. Amanda checked every medication that came through that door, questioned every nurse who tried to enter, monitored every single change in Kong's vitals with the paranoia of someone who knew death could arrive wearing scrubs and a friendly smile. Scar brought her coffee at 2 in the morning, strong and black and bitter. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Whatever promise you made, whatever debt you think you owe, it's not worth your life. Isn't it? Amanda took the coffee gratefully. Your boss's sister pulled me out of a pretty dark place years ago. Gave me purpose when I had absolutely none. Taught me I could be more than what the world expected from someone like me. She sipped the bitter liquid. I owe her everything, including this. Scar studied her for a long moment. She talked about you once, years ago, before she vanished. Said she had a friend who was going to change the world someday. Said you had hands that could heal anything. He paused. She'd be glad you came back. You knew her well, Amanda said. I was assigned to protect her, failed pretty spectacularly at that job. His scarred face tightened with old pain. When she ran, the family wanted me dead as punishment. Kong saved my life, said his sister would have wanted me to live, that she'd forgive my failure even if they never would. So we're both here because of her, Amanda said. Seems that way, Scar agreed. He glanced at Kong's sleeping form. He's a good man despite what the world thinks about him. Inherited his father's empire but not his cruelty. His sister raised him more than anyone else did, made him believe in things like honor and mercy. Dangerous concepts in your world. Fatal concepts, Scar agreed. Which is why people like Mina smell weakness like sharks smell blood. He pulled out his phone, showed Amanda a series of messages. She's been texting the family lawyer all night, pushing papers through the system. Emergency power of attorney, expedited will changes, everything designed to make her legally untouchable once he's gone. Can we stop her through legal channels? Amanda asked. Not in 3 days, and not while he's too weak to fight it properly, Scar said. Which means we keep him alive and keep her away by whatever means necessary. The way he said whatever means necessary suggested solutions that didn't involve courtrooms or paperwork. No killing, Amanda said firmly. We're trying to prevent death, not cause it, even if she's trying to cause his. Even then, because that's what separates us from people like her. Amanda set down her coffee cup with finality. Besides, his sister taught me something else important. She said the best revenge against people who want you dead is living well and watching them fail spectacularly. Scar's scarred face cracked into something like a smile. She really was the best of them, wasn't she? She really was, Amanda confirmed. Kong stirred then, his eyes opening in the dim light of the monitors. Are you two bonding over my sister's wisdom while I'm trying to sleep? Yes, Amanda said. Also making sure you don't stop breathing, which you're welcome for. How's my heart doing? Kong asked. Stable for now, Amanda checked his monitors, noting the readings carefully. But you need actual rest, real sleep, not this half-conscious state where you're listening to everything. I'm dying, Kong pointed out. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Not funny, Amanda said. And you're not dying if I have anything to say about it, but you need to stop being a mafia boss for 5 minutes and start being a patient. My family will love that, Kong said sarcastically. Showing weakness is basically begging for a coup in our world. Then fake it, Amanda said. Play dying until you're actually recovering in secret. Let them fight over your corpse while you get stronger behind the scenes. That's actually not a terrible strategy, Kong looked thoughtful. But it requires Mina believing I'm dying on schedule, and you being here constantly undermines that narrative. So we make me look incompetent, Amanda said. Make it seem like I'm failing to keep you alive properly. Let her think she's winning while we're actually saving you. We stage setbacks, make you look worse than you actually are, Kong added, his criminal mind engaging. And when she tries to accelerate things with that medication, we catch her in the act with evidence even my family can't ignore. I like it, Amanda said. Dangerous, probably going to get us both killed, but I like it. Story of my life lately, Kong muttered. A scream cut through the quiet hospital like a knife. Then another, louder and more desperate. Scar was through the door with his weapon drawn before Amanda could even react. Kong tried to sit up and Amanda pushed him back down with firm hands. Stay right here, she commanded. Whatever's happening out there, you're in no condition to help anyone. It could be an attack on me. Which is exactly why you need to stay alive and hidden, not run into potential gunfire like an idiot. Scar's voice crackled over the radio clip to Kong's bed rail. All clear, boss. Just a patient in distress down the hall. But you should know Miss Mina was in the medication storage room when it happened, alone and unsupervised. Amanda and Kong's eyes met with shared understanding. She's tampering with something, Amanda said. Or taking something, Kong added. Scar, lock down that room immediately. I want a complete inventory of every medication right now. 20 minutes later, Scar returned with a grim expression and a tablet showing inventory logs. 3 vials missing, he reported. All cardiac medications that would be severely contraindicated for your specific condition, boss. Let me guess, Kong said. The same ones that were prescribed earlier tonight. Worse, Scar said. These are the kind that cause immediate cardiac arrest in patients with the K-Fairytales mutation, look completely natural, undetectable unless you're specifically looking for them. She's done her homework thoroughly, Amanda said. Or someone's done it for her. These aren't medications a normal person would even know about. The family doctor, Kong realized. Dr. Chun, he knew about my mutation, about my sister's death, about everything. His eyes widened with realization. He's been on Mina's payroll this whole time, which means she's been planning this for months, maybe longer. Since before you got really sick, Amanda said quietly. Maybe since before you even met her. The implications hung heavy in the air like smoke. Mina hadn't just seized an opportunity. She'd been engineering Kong's death from the very beginning, waiting patiently for nature to give her the perfect cover she needed. I'm going to kill her, Kong said flatly, his voice cold. No, you're absolutely not, Amanda said firmly. Because that's exactly what she wants, for you to do something stupid and violent that justifies whatever final move she's planning. She stood and started pacing. We need proof, real concrete proof, the kind that holds up in court and in your family's version of justice. How do we get that? Kong asked. We let her try, Amanda's face was set with determination. We let her try to give you that medication, but we switch it first. Replace it with something completely harmless. And we record absolutely everything. You want to use me as bait, Kong said. I want to catch her in the act of attempted murder, Amanda said. It's the only way your family will believe she's a real threat instead of a grieving girlfriend. Kong considered this carefully, then nodded slowly. Do it. But if something goes wrong, if anything happens, nothing will go wrong, Amanda promised with more confidence than she actually felt. Your sister taught me to always have a backup plan, and a backup to the backup. What's the backup plan? Kong asked. Trust me, Amanda said. You really don't want to know. It involves things that aren't strictly legal. Kong actually laughed. Oh, now I definitely want to know. But Amanda shook her head. Later, after we survive the next 3 days and catch a murderer. She checked his vitals again, adjusting his floor carefully. For right now, you need to sleep, actual real sleep, because tomorrow we start making you look sicker than you are, and that requires you being rested enough to fake weakness convincingly. You're very bossy, Kong observed. Your sister was bossier, Amanda countered. You should have heard her during study sessions, absolute tyrant. I wish I had, Kong's voice went soft with grief. Tell me about her, about your time together. I need to remember she was more than just the family's disappointment. So Amanda did. She told him about late nights in their cramped dorm room studying until dawn. About his sister's fierce intelligence and even fiercer compassion. About how she'd taken a scholarship student from a rough neighborhood in Chicago and made her believe she could be a nurse, could be a healer, could be someone who actually mattered in the world. She told him about the day his sister got the positive pregnancy test, about the fear and joy warring in her face. About how she'd said, I'm going to keep this baby even if it kills me, even if my family tries to stop me. And Amanda told him about the last time she'd seen his sister 3 years ago, when she'd pressed a piece of paper into Amanda's hand with a single address on it and said, "If my brother ever needs you, go to Seoul. Watch over him for me. He's the only good thing I'm leaving behind in that family." By the time she finished, Kong's face was wet with silent tears he didn't bother to hide. She knew she might not make it, he said. Knew the baby and the condition might be too much for her body. So she made sure I'd have someone, that I wouldn't be alone. She made sure you'd have a fighting chance, Amanda corrected gently. What you do with it is entirely up to you. Kong wiped his face, and when he looked at Amanda again, there was steel behind the grief. Then I'm going to do exactly what she'd want. I'm going to survive this. I'm going to stop Mina, and I'm going to find my sister and her child, in that exact order. Simultaneously, if at all possible, Amanda said. Ambitious. I'm a mafia boss, Kong said. Ambition is literally the job description. Amanda smiled despite everything. Your sister said the exact same thing right before she told me that ambition without compassion is just cruelty with a business plan. She would know, Kong said. She watched our father her whole life and learned exactly what not to become. He settled back into his pillows, exhaustion finally winning. Don't let me die before I can find her, Amanda. That's all I'm asking. I won't, Amanda promised. Even if I have to drag you back from death myself multiple times. Somehow I believe you actually could, Kong said. Sleep took him then, deep and dreamless and desperately needed. Amanda watched his chest rise and fall, monitored by machines that turned life into numbers and graphs, and wondered what Kong's sister would think of all this chaos. Probably laugh, Amanda decided. She'd always loved impossible situations, had thrived on them. If you're still here, subscribe, because stories like this only work when people stay. The next 2 days were a carefully choreographed dance of deception. Amanda made Kong look weaker, paler, more fragile than he actually was. They staged episodes where his breathing would labor dramatically, where his heart would skip concerning rhythms, where death seemed to hover just behind the expensive hospital curtains. And Mina ate it up completely. She was there constantly now, playing the devoted fiancée to perfection, tears always ready on demand, grief performed beautifully for any audience. But Amanda watched her eyes carefully, watched them calculate, watched them sharpen with satisfaction every time Kong seemed worse. Soon, my love, Mina would whisper when she thought Amanda couldn't hear. Soon you'll be at peace, and I'll make sure your empire is in the best possible hands. The wedding was planned for tomorrow morning. A priest had been arranged, witnesses gathered, paperwork meticulously prepared. Mina had even picked out her dress, black for mourning she'd pretend wasn't premature. But tonight was when she'd make her final move. Amanda could feel it in the air like electricity, in the way Mina's eyes kept darting to Kong's fore, in the way her hand would hover near his medications like a predator sizing up prey. Scar had set up hidden cameras throughout the room. Amanda had switched the medications carefully, replacing Mina's stolen vials with harmless saline and keeping the real poisons locked away as evidence. Everything was ready and waiting. They just had to wait for Mina to act, to reveal herself completely. Midnight came and went in tense silence. Amanda dozed in her chair, or pretended to, keeping her eyes slitted just enough to see clearly. Kong breathed steadily in his bed, actually sleeping for once, trusting Amanda to keep watch over him. At 2 a.m, the door opened with barely a whisper. Mina slipped in wearing dark clothes instead of her usual designer outfits, her perfect makeup completely gone, her face bare and sharp and hungry with anticipation. She moved with practiced silence toward Kong's fore, pulling something from her pocket with careful precision. A syringe filled with clear liquid. Amanda's heart hammered against her ribs, but she kept perfectly still, kept watching, letting Mina get close enough that the cameras would capture absolutely everything. Mina uncapped the syringe with a soft click, positioned it carefully near the injection port, and whispered, "Thank you for being such an easy mark, darling. Your sister was much harder to kill than you." Everything stopped. His sister was much harder to kill. Amanda's eyes flew open wide. Kong's did too. He'd been awake the entire time, listening, waiting for this exact moment. "What did you just say?" Kong's voice cut through the darkness like a blade. Mina spun around fast, the syringe still clutched in her hand. Shock and rage battling for dominance on her face. "You're supposed to be asleep," she hissed. "What did you say about my sister?" Kong sat up despite Amanda's protests, his eyes burning with something far beyond pain or exhaustion. "What did you do to her?" And here's where everything you thought you knew about this story completely shatters. Because Mina smiled, actually smiled, cold and satisfied and cruel as winter. "You really didn't know," she laughed without humor. "Your precious family didn't tell you the truth. Your sister didn't just run away with her little secret. She tried to disappear completely, tried to vanish." Mina's smile widened viciously. "But your family found her eventually, and they sent me to fix their problem permanently." The room temperature plummeted to freezing. "You killed her," Kong breathed. "I made it look like a tragic cardiac episode during childbirth," Mina said casually. "Unavoidable, unpreventable, her weak heart just couldn't handle the stress of labor." She twirled the syringe almost playfully. "And now I'm going to do exactly the same to you. Collect my payment twice over from your grateful family. Your family was very generous about the first job, I expect they'll be even more grateful when I handle the second one just as cleanly." Amanda was already moving, but Mina was faster than she looked. She lunged for Kong, syringe aimed directly at his foreport with deadly precision. But Kong was faster still, his hand shooting out to catch Mina's wrist with surprising strength for someone supposedly dying. For a moment they struggled desperately, the syringe hovering inches from his lifeline while monitors shrieked. "The baby," Kong gritted out through clenched teeth. "What happened to my sister's baby?" "Do you really want to die knowing?" Mina hissed, pushing hard against his weakening grip. "Tell me now," Kong demanded. "Your family has the child locked up somewhere safe." Mina's eyes gleamed with malice. "Insurance against your sister in case she somehow survived. Insurance against you in case you got difficult or tried to leave." She leaned in close. A perfect little weapon just waiting to be used against whoever steps out of line. Amanda's hand found the emergency call button. Alarms shrieked through the hospital like banshees. Lights blazed to life. And suddenly the room was flooded with guards, nurses, doctors, chaos erupting everywhere. But through it all, Kong held Mina's wrist in an iron grip, held her there as Scar ripped the syringe away from her hand and threw her against the wall hard enough to crack the plaster. "Where exactly?" Kong demanded, his voice raw with rage and grief. "Where is my sister's child being kept?" Yen laughed even as guards pinned her arms brutally. "Why would I tell you anything? I'm dead anyway now. Might as well take that secret with me to hell." But Scar was already on his phone, pulling strings, calling in every favor owed. "We'll find out," he promised Kong. "We have her phone, her files, her entire life. If the child exists anywhere, we'll find them." Kong slumped back against his pillows, shaking not from weakness but from rage so pure it burned through exhaustion like fire. His eyes found Amanda's across the chaos. "My sister," he said hollowly. "She's really dead." "I don't know for certain," Amanda said honestly. "But we're going to find out the complete truth. And we're going to find that child no matter what it takes." We are, Amanda confirmed without hesitation. Because that's exactly what she would have wanted, what I promised her. Police arrived in force. Family members arrived demanding answers. Lawyers arrived with briefcases full of threats. The hospital room became an active crime scene, everything photographed and documented and turned into evidence that would bury Mina forever. As they led her away in handcuffs, she called back to Kong with vicious satisfaction. You think you've won something here? You think stopping me changes anything important? Your family wanted you dead, you absolute fool. I'm just the weapon they chose to use. There'll be others, there'll always be others. The door closed on her voice finally, but the truth of her words lingered like poison in the air. Kong looked at Amanda, at Scar, at the cameras that had captured every damning word. If my family wants me dead that badly, he said quietly, then I'm going to make absolutely sure I live long enough to burn their entire empire down to ash and scatter the ashes, starting with finding out what they did with my sister's child. Boss, Scar said carefully. You're still dying, medical reality hasn't changed. Not fast enough apparently. Kong's smile was grim and determined. Amanda, how long can you actually keep me alive if I rest properly and stop letting people poison me constantly? 6 months minimum, Amanda said. Maybe more with proper care and treatment. That's enough time. Kong's eyes were hard now, calculating, the criminal mastermind emerging fully from behind the dying man's mask. Enough time to find the child. Enough time to find out if my sister's really dead or if that's just another lie in a mountain of lies. His gaze pinned Amanda with intensity. Enough time to keep my promise to her, even if she can't keep hers to me anymore. What promise did you make her? Amanda asked. That I'd protect what she loved. Most. Kong's hand found Amanda's and held it tight. She loved that child she was carrying. And apparently she loved you too, trusted you completely. His grip tightened with purpose. So I'm trusting you as well. Stay here, help me dismantle my family from the inside out, help me find the truth no matter where it leads. Amanda should have said no firmly. Should have run for the airport. Should have gone back to her safe, anonymous life teaching English and pretending she'd never known a woman fierce enough to defy an entire criminal empire for love. But Kong's sister's voice whispered in her memory one final time. Take care of my brother. Promise me you'll protect him. And Amanda realized that promise had never had an expiration date, had never come with conditions or escape clauses. Okay, she said finally. But we're doing this intelligently. No rushing in recklessly, no getting yourself killed before we find real answers. Deal, Kong said. And you're following all my medical advice without argument, Amanda added. All of it, including eating vegetables. Kong actually smiled despite everything. You drive an impossibly hard bargain. I learned from your sister, Amanda said. Of course you did, Kong said. The dawn broke over Seoul, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold and possibility. Kong's wedding day that would never happen. His death day that had been postponed indefinitely by truth and treason and a black woman who'd kept a promise she made 3 years ago to a friend who'd changed her entire life. Somewhere in the city, a child waited, unknown and hidden. The last living piece of Kong's sister walking around with her blood and her stubborn refusal to die quietly without a fight. And somewhere, maybe, hopefully, impossibly against all odds, Kong's sister herself might still be breathing, might still be fighting, might still be waiting for her brother to find her and bring her home. But that's a story for another time entirely. Because right now, as Amanda checked Kong's vitals and found them stronger than they'd been in weeks, as Scar catalogued evidence that would bring down half the family leadership, as the morning news reported a foiled murder and a scandalous betrayal that would rock Seoul's underworld, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't an ending at all. It was a beginning. The beginning of a war between a dying mafia boss and the family that wanted him permanently dead. The beginning of a search for a child who shouldn't exist according to official records. The beginning of a truth that could either destroy an empire completely or somehow save it. And at the center of it all, two people bound together by a promise to a woman who defied her entire world and paid the ultimate price. If Kong's family thought they could kill their way to peace and power, they were about to learn what his sister had always known deep down. Some people refuse to die quietly when pushed. Some promises can't be broken no matter what. And some women, when pushed hard enough, push back with enough force to move mountains and topple empires. Amanda smiled at Kong, at this complicated, dangerous, dying man who just declared open war on his own blood family. Your sister would be incredibly proud of you right now, she said. She'd probably say we're complete idiots, Kong countered. That too, Amanda agreed. But she'd help us anyway, she always did. Outside the hospital room, Scar fielded urgent calls from the family, spinning elaborate stories, buying precious time. Inside, Kong rested while Amanda planned their next impossible move, their desperate search, their war against the people who'd taken absolutely everything. And somewhere in Seoul, a child played or cried or laughed, completely unaware that their very existence was about to change everything forever. The monitors beeped their steady rhythms of life continuing. The sun climbed higher in a sky full of possibilities. And Amanda realized that in trying to keep one simple promise, she'd stepped directly into a story far bigger and more dangerous than she'd ever imagined possible. But here's the fundamental truth about impossible promises. Sometimes they're the only ones truly worth keeping, even if they kill you. Especially if they kill you. We've reached the conclusion of our compelling African-Korean story. If this story moved you, smash that like button so hard it breaks and subscribe for more incredible true stories that prove love can heal the deepest wounds. Share this story with someone because trust me when I say part 2 is going to reveal secrets that'll make everything you just heard look like the prologue. We're going to find that hidden child. We're going to uncover the truth about the sister. And we're going to watch Kong systematically burn his family's empire to the ground from the inside. But I absolutely cannot make it happen without your support. Your support means everything to me. If you made it all the way to the end, you are an absolute legend. Drop a comment telling us your theory. Do you think Kong's sister is actually dead or is she out there somewhere waiting to blow all our minds? Let us know. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.